In a new world record, China's artificial sun project has sustained a nuclear fusion reaction for more than 17 minutes, reports Anthony Cuthbertson for The Independent. In the latest experiment, superheated plasma reached 126 million degrees Fahrenheit, that's roughly 5 times hotter than the sun, which radiates a scorching 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit at the surface and about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit at its core. Coal and natural gas are the primary energy sources currently used around the world, but these materials come in limited supply. Nuclear fusion could be the cleanest energy source available because it replicates the sun's physics by merging atomic nuclei to generate large amounts of energy into electricity. The process requires no fossil fuels, leaves behind no radioactive waste, and is a safer alternative to fission nuclear power, per The Independent. The recent operation lays a solid scientific and experimental foundation towards the running of a fusion reactor, says Gong Xianzu, a researcher at the Institute of Plasma Physics of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, in a statement. China's experimental advanced superconducting tokamak, East, was designed to potentially be used as a near-limitless supply of clean energy on Earth, the Xinhua news agency reports. The donut-shaped East reactor is referred to as an artificial sun because it simulates the fusion process within stars, reports Robert Leah for Newsweek. In a star's core, intense pressure and high temperatures fuse atomic nuclei, creating new elements, reports Michelle Starr for Science Alert. To achieve nuclear fusion, 4 hydrogen atoms combine to form 1 helium atom. Tokamaks like East use magnetic fields to confine turbulent, at times unstable, plasma, or ionized gas, at high temperatures in a loop course called a torus, per the Department of Energy. Inside the tokamak, lasers heat heavy hydrogen atoms, like deuterium and tritium, up to hundreds of millions of degrees Fahrenheit, which is the temperature threshold where fusion processes begin in stars. The heat allows researchers to replicate the intense gravitational pressure within a star's core, Newsweek reports. At these high temperatures, the atomic nuclei inside a tokamak will begin to smash together and release energy that can be used for electrical power. Keeping plasma contained at such intense temperatures without leakage, however, has proven to be extremely challenging. Scientists have been working to harness energy from nuclear fusion for over 70 years. Furthermore, an experimental tokamak reactor that produces more energy than it uses has never been created, per Live Science, but China's success with East suggests researchers are getting closer to sustainably harnessing cosmic power. In theory, deuterium can be obtained from Earth's oceans. 1 liter of seawater is estimated to have enough fusion material to produce energy equivalent to 300 liters of gasoline, Newsweek reports. Currently, China's East reactor is being used to test technology for an even bigger tokamak reactor under construction in France. In a collaboration between 35 countries, the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, ITER, will be the world's largest nuclear reactor. The United States, the United Kingdom, China, India, and all states in the European Union are involved in the project, Live Science reports. The reactor, expected to begin working in 2025, also has the world's most powerful magnetic field, which is 280,000 times as strong as Earth's own. Though tsunamis, hurricanes, and heat waves may not be punishment from God, history teaches that events in the physical world trigger upheaval in society. Civilizations have risen and fallen over drought, famine, and water wars. Only wild-eyed fundamentalists would think that recent weather phenomena have any theological significance, said John P. DeMeyer, a New Testament scholar and professor at Notre Dame in Indiana. The earth has seen and will see much worse in recorded history. The apocalypse is rooted in the Judeo-Christian tradition, but end-of-the-world stories are also woven through some Hindu and Islamic beliefs. One Catholic university spokesman described it as the magical mystery tour of the Bible, filled with vivid imagery, a beast-like Antichrist, an angry God and the destruction of the world by fire. Modern millennialists and eschatologists, including Yisrael Buffalo Bill Hawkins, the founder of the House of Yahweh religious sect located on a 44-acre compound outside Abilene, Texas, who predicted, incorrectly, the end of the world yesterday, June 12, have been forecasting doomsday for decades. "It's been going on for millennia and they get it wrong all the time," said Thomas Reese, senior fellow at the Woodstock Theological Seminary at Georgetown University. "After the first millennium, they thought the world would come to an end," he said. "The Pope and the Cardinals were in the old St. Peter's and they were expecting Jesus to come back. It didn't happen." The book of Revelation was written at a time when the Romans were persecuting Christians by setting them afire and feeding them to the lions. "You have to understand the historical context of the apocalypse and the time it was written," said Reese. "They were trying to encourage Christians to have hope and to argue that their cause is just and God will not let the bad guys win. The central message is that sin is not good for people and it has consequences, but we wouldn't think hurricanes, tidal waves, and locusts," he said. "We know enough about science today to look on natural events as natural and not coming from God to punish people. Meteorologists say there is a natural explanation for all this catastrophic weather, Pacific Decadal Oscillation. Since the 1970s, the Pacific Ocean has been warming, but now it is going through a cooling phase, according to Jay Searles, forecaster instructor at Penn State University. But now, we are flipping, and these flips happen over decades," said Searles. "When we go through transition phases like right now, they tend to favor stormy, more violent weather, everything we have been observing. We are not being punished, though it may seem like it," said Searles. "But there is a scientific reason behind what is happening and that makes sense." Stephen B. Chapman, associate professor of the Old Testament at Duke University Divinity School, says the Bible has a lot to say about man's relationship to the ecosystem. "In the Bible there is an essential relationship between social justice and right worship and ecology," said Chapman. "The Bible has an intense interest in ecology. Religious scholars are beginning to pay more attention to what the Bible has to say about man's destruction of the environment and its relationship to natural catastrophes. The land bearing the cost of global warming is new, but the connection between what humankind does and what societies they form and the health of the land and agriculture is as old as the Bible itself," he said. "One of the great Bible stories, the flood of Genesis that destroyed the earth, was caused by violence," said Chapman. "But when the floods subside and Noah step out of the ark, the Bible uses one of the great symbols of hope, the rainbow. The rainbow is explicitly a sign that God will not destroy the earth again and the hope that humankind can live in harmony with natural world." But evangelists like Ken Hahn, founder and CEO of Answers in Genesis and the Creation Museum in Petersburg, Kentucky, believe God, not man, is at work in recent weather phenomena. "There is earthly death payment for sin," said Hahn. "Because of sin, God doesn't hold the world perfectly together at times, and he uses certain events to judge a nation. The Bible is filled with symbolism, poetry and parables, and Hahn says Revelation should not be taken literally. Still, just because it's apocalyptic literature doesn't mean there is no truth there. When the world sins, the whole of creation groans, according to Hahn's interpretation of a biblical passage in Romans. Those groans are reflected in recent tornadoes and storms. If you carefully look at events, there are certain catastrophes," said Hahn. "But God is in control and it's not God's fault, it's our fault because we sinned against God."